fruit seller's dreams of a better life collide with the love of a devoted banker and the tempting promises of a stranger from afar. Will her choices lead her to the life she's always longed for, or will they cost her everything she holds dear? Nkechi balanced the heavy basket of fruits on her head, the sun beating down on her with merciless intensity. The marketplace was alive with chaos, vendors shouting, children laughing, and the faint hum of car horns in the distance. She was used to this life, her feet hardened from walking miles every day to sell oranges, bananas, and mangoes. Yet her mind often wandered to the life she wished she had, a life of comfort, where she wouldn't have to count coins to buy a simple meal. Forever. The marketplace buzzed with life as Nkechi skillfully balanced her basket of oranges on her head. She had been at it all morning, navigating the chaos of the street. Then, as if fate itself intervened, a sleek black car rolled to a stop beside her. Out stepped a man whose presence seemed to silence the noise around him. "Excuse me," he called, his deep voice slicing through her thoughts. "How much for everything?" Nkechi froze. "Everything?" she repeated, staring at his polished shoes and tailored suit. "Yes, the entire basket," he said, flashing a kind smile. "Keep the change." That was the day Emeka, a rising banker, entered her life. Emeka was a hard-working banker whose rise from humble beginnings mirrored the dreams Nkechi often dared to entertain. Not one to play around, over the following weeks he found excuses to visit the marketplace, buying fruits he didn't need just to see her again. One day he made his intentions clear. "Nkechi," he began, his voice steady, "I have come to love you deeply. I want to marry you. I see a future with you, and I want to give you a better life. I hope you feel the same way too." Nkechi was beyond elated, she told him. He had fallen in love with him too. When Emeka formally approached her family, his sincerity moved everyone. "Emeka, you are a good man," her father said. Her mother, however, saw an opportunity. "You are a good man, Emeka," she said sweetly, "but Nkechi is still young. Let her finish her education first. That way she'll be a better match for you." Her father was less convinced. "If both of you are ready, why wait?" he asked. But her mother persisted, convincing Emeka to delay the wedding while still providing for Nkechi. Emeka agreed to wait, thinking it was for the best. He paid her university tuition, bought her textbooks, and ensured she had everything she needed. Yet unbeknownst to him, her mother began planting seeds of greed in Nkechi's mind. Behind closed doors, Nkechi's mother saw Emeka as more than just a suitor. He was an opportunity. She convinced Nkechi to ask Emeka for things she didn't truly need, framing it as part of securing their future. New clothes, a smartphone, even money for extra tutoring flowed steadily from Emeka's pockets. Her father, however, grew uneasy. "Don't take advantage of the boy," he warned. "He loves Nkechi. That kind of love is rare." But his warnings fell on deaf ears. "Don't feel guilty," her mother would tell her. "He's investing in his future wife." Emeka kept his promise. He paid her tuition, bought her books, and ensured she lacked nothing. Nkechi was the envy of her classmates, dressed in the finest clothes and using the latest gadgets, all thanks to Emeka. He visited her regularly, reminding her of his love and the future they would build together. By Nkechi's final year, she had grown accustomed to the life Emeka provided, but her world shifted when a friend introduced her to Daniel, a Nigerian-Australian who lived a lavish life abroad. They started chatting online, and Daniel's gifts soon followed: jewelry, designer handbags, and even money. What started as casual conversations quickly turned into something more. Daniel painted a picture of a glamorous life in Australia, far more luxurious than anything Emeka could offer. Her responses to Emeka grew colder, her visits home less frequent, but her father noticed the shift. When he questioned her, she dismissed him, blaming her studies. The more she spoke to Daniel, the more distant she became from Emeka. When Emeka asked why she was avoiding him, she brushed him off with excuses about her studies. Daniel, on the other hand, painted a picture of a glamorous life in Australia, far more luxurious than anything Emeka could offer. He promised her in a wedding to remember when he came back to Nigeria. 2 months before her graduation, Nkechi broke the news to Emeka. "I can't do this anymore," she said, unable to meet his eyes. "I've met someone else." Emeka was stunned. "After everything I've done for you? Nkechi, I love you. We were building a future together." "I was too young to know what love was," she replied coldly. "I have met someone who completes me and understands me. I am sorry, it is over," she said harshly. Her father begged her to reconsider. "Nkechi, don't bite the hand that fed you. Gratitude is everything." But she was unmoved. Her mother, however, supported her. "Let the girl follow her heart," she argued. "Maybe this Daniel is her destiny." Emeka's heartbreak turned into quiet determination. He walked away without another word, full of regret in allowing her deceive him for this long. Meanwhile, Daniel encouraged Nkechi to break all ties with her past, promising to marry her once she graduated. But then, a week before her final exams, Daniel stopped calling. The gifts ceased and her messages went unanswered. She panicked, fearing he had moved on. Finally, he called, but his tone was different. "I've been busy," he said, "but don't worry, I'm still here." What Nkechi didn't know was that Daniel was already married. His wife Maria had grown suspicious of his late-night calls and secretive behavior. Nkechi graduated, and true to his word, Daniel came to Nigeria for their wedding. It was a modest affair, far from the glamorous ceremony she had imagined. He rented her an apartment and promised to process her travel documents soon. "I'll come back for you," he said, but there were signs of trouble from the start. He refused to take pictures with her, claiming he valued his privacy. He gave her strict times to call him, citing long work hours. Alone and pregnant, Nkechi started to get uneasy that something was amiss, but could do very little about it. Daniel had claimed all his family lived in the United States, and so they had only done a court wedding. Months after her modest wedding, Nkechi grew uneasy. The lavish gifts from Australia stopped coming, and her husband Victor, who claimed to be a successful businessman, became increasingly unavailable. Her attempts to reach him were limited to specific times he dictated, and even then, his tone was cold and curt. One day, Nkechi defied his warnings and posted a picture from their wedding on Facebook. She wanted to share her joy with friends and silence the nagging doubts in her heart. Within an hour, Victor called, his voice thunderous. "Take it down now, Nkechi. Do you want to ruin everything?" "What's wrong with sharing a picture of us? We're married," she argued. "You'll regret this if you don't listen to me," he snapped and hung up. Confused and hurt, Nkechi sought advice from her mother, who reassured her that Victor was simply under stress. But her father, who had long been skeptical of Victor's behavior, urged her to tread carefully. A man who hides his wife has something to hide. A month later, Nkechi received an unexpected call from an unknown number. The voice on the other end was calm but chilling. "This is Maria, Daniel's wife. I've seen your picture online. Let me make myself clear. Daniel is my husband. He's been for 10 years. Stay away from him or I'll destroy you." Nkechi's world crumbled. When she confronted Daniel, he denied nothing. "Maria found out, and now my marriage is on the line," he said coldly. "Your marriage? What about us? What about our child?" she cried, clutching her swollen belly. "Nkechi, I warned you not to post that picture. I can't lose my real family for someone like you. This is all your fault. You should have listened to me." With that, he blocked her number and profile on all platforms and disappeared. Left alone, Nkechi faced the harsh reality of her betrayal. Her father's words haunted her. "Don't bite the hand that feeds you." Emeka had loved her, sacrificed for her, and dreamed of a future with her was gone. She had traded his steadfast love for the empty promises of a man who had only used her mother. Ashamed but too proud to admit fault, offered little comfort. Her father, though deeply disappointed, helped her where he could. But Nkechi's pain was a burden she bore alone. Nkechi was left alone to raise her child, haunted by the life she had thrown away. Greed and betrayal may offer fleeting rewards, but they often lead to a lifetime of regret. True love and loyalty are treasures that should never be traded for empty promises. "We have come to seek the hand of Ada, the daughter of the house." These words seemed to echo over and over again in Chioma's ears. Betrayal has a way of rewriting even the most carefully laid plans. For Chioma, this day would not be remembered for love, but for heartbreak, a moment that would test her strength, her faith, and her will to rise above the ashes of her pain. In that moment, Chioma's life changed forever, but what she didn't know was that this betrayal would ignite a fire within her, a fire that would turn her heartbreak into purpose and her pain into triumph. She thought her prayers were finally answered when Emeka came into her life. On the day of her traditional introduction ceremony, her world crumbled when the man she loved, her promised future, betrayed her in the most unforgivable way right before her eyes. Chioma is the eldest daughter of the late Chief Okafor, a respected businessman in Enugu. Raised as her father's pride and joy, she was taught values of resilience, kindness, and diligence. Her life took a drastic turn after her father's untimely death, leaving her to fend for herself and her family when her stepmother and stepsister took over the household. After her father's passing, Chioma became the family's breadwinner at the age of 18. Working long hours at a pharmacy by day and sewing clothes by night, she managed to put food on the table for her stepmother, Ngozi, and stepsister Ada. Chioma in her tiny room finishing a dress for a client late at night. Her hands are rough from years of sewing, yet she hums softly, her voice tinged with hope. A framed photo of her late father sits by her bedside. Chioma, once her father's princess, became the family's breadwinner. While Ada pursued her studies in accounting and attended every social event in town, Chioma worked tirelessly at a local pharmacy during the day and sewed clothes at night. Her meager salary barely covered their needs, but Chioma's love for her late father kept her going. He had taught her to be resilient, to persevere, and to love, even when it wasn't returned. When she met Emeka, it felt like her prayers had been answered. Emeka was kind, successful, and attentive. He didn't seem to mind that Chioma's salary was small or that she carried the weight of her family on her shoulders. For the first time in years, Chioma felt seen and valued. Emeka's proposal was a fairy tale moment. He knelt before her at her birthday dinner, presenting her with a diamond ring that sparkled brighter than the candles on her cake. The tears in her eyes weren't just joy, they were relief. Finally, her life was turning around. Chioma is shown excitedly preparing for her introduction ceremony, ironing her outfit and setting out coral beads. Her best friend Neka senses her unease and asks if something is wrong. Chioma dismisses her concerns, but admits Emeka has been distant recently. Cut to Chioma ironing her lace blouse while her best friend Neka sits on the bed eating roasted plantain. Neka says to Chioma, "Chioma, you're glowing, but are you sure everything is fine with Emeka? You've been quiet these past few days." "Maybe it is nothing, Neka," Chioma says. "Recently, he's been distant. I tried calling him, but he said he's been busy. He promised he'd be here. I'm sure it's just pre-wedding jitters." He also sent a text this morning. He says he had to take a quick work trip and not to worry that he'll be here tomorrow. He said, "Don't worry, my love." She smiles faintly, masking her unease. I don't like this. Oh, if anything feels off tomorrow, don't ignore it." "Neka, you worry too much. Emeka is a good man. He wouldn't hurt me." The morning of the ceremony, women bustle in the kitchen, laughter fills the air, and traditional drummers create a lively atmosphere. Chioma greets them with a warm smile. All morning that day she has an uneasy feeling. She absently noted that she had not seen Ada all morning, but did not let that other her. At midday, Emeka's entourage arriving with gifts as it is required by custom. The spokesperson begins the traditional rites. Chioma listens from the adjoining room, clutching Neka's hand nervously. An elder, a spokesperson from Emeka's family, as is normal with the tradition, speaks up. "We have come to seek the hand of Ada, the daughter of the house." Chioma freezes, her breath catching in her throat. Murmurs ripple through the room as Nodzi steps forward. "Ah, very good. You chose well. My daughter Ada is indeed a fine choice." Chioma stumbles out of the room, her heart racing. Her eyes widen in disbelief as she sees Emeka standing beside Ada, who is dressed in matching traditional attire. Chioma, whispering, "No, this can't be happening." The elders continue the ritual. Ada, with a smug smile, kneels gracefully and offers the ceremonial wine to Emeka. He accepts it, beaming. The room erupts in applause, but Chioma collapses to the floor, fainting. Chioma wakes up in her room, tears streaming down her face. Nneka tries to console her, but Chioma remains silent, staring blankly at the ceiling. Chioma cries softly, saying, "All my sacrifices, all for this?" Flashbacks show her working tirelessly to support the family, sewing late into the night, skipping meals, and handing over her pay to Nodzi. "Chioma, you should have known better. Emeka was never yours. Ada is younger, prettier. It's time you accepted that life isn't fair," her stepmother said, smirking. Chioma wipes her tears and stands, her voice steady but firm. "You're right, Mama Ada. Life isn't fair, but I've let you and Ada take advantage of me for too long. No more." She begins packing her belongings, ignoring Ngozi's dismissive laughter. Nneka helps her, silently supportive. She looks back at the house he once called home one last time and walks away. Mama Ada laughs, saying, "You have nowhere to go. You will come back when you are ready." Even though Nneka pleaded with her, she insisted on leaving Enugu that evening. She withdrew her savings and caught the last bus to Abuja, saying she would prefer to arrive Abuja bright and early the next day, so she could find a place to stay in daylight. All night, as the bus rolled towards Abuja, Chioma wept painfully, her heart broken once more since losing her beloved father. Chioma arriving in Abuja with only a small suitcase. She struggles to find a place to stay and ends up renting a tiny room in a crowded compound in Karu. It was all she could afford. The next day, she sets off and starts to look for a job immediately. She takes a job at a fabric store, working for a man who sells upholstery materials and curtains. Through her resilience and natural talent, Chioma begins to learn the art of design. Her boss notices her knack for decor and starts referring clients to her for interior decoration jobs. Chioma spends nights sketching designs and experimenting with fabric samples. Her passion grows, and she begins taking on small interior design projects under contract with her former boss. Her breakthrough comes when a senator's wife commissions her to redesign her mansion. Chioma pours her heart into the project, stunning the client with her bold and creative work. 18 months after relocation to Abuja, Chioma is ready to set up on her own. Chioma is seated in a modest office looking over fabric samples and sketches. She has taken her first steps toward establishing her own interior design firm. Chioma to herself, "This isn't just a business. This is my legacy, something no one can take from me." Her phone rings. It's her best friend, Nneka, calling from Enugu. "Chioma, congratulations on your new business. You've worked so hard for this. I'm so proud of you. Thank you, Nneka. I couldn't have done it without you pushing me to move forward." "Nneka, why don't you join me? I need someone I can trust, someone with vision. Come to Abuja, let's build this together." Nneka hesitates but eventually agrees. The two friends laugh, dreaming about the future. Months later, Nneka arrives in Abuja, bringing news about Nozi and Ada. "Chioma, I didn't want to bring this up, but things are bad back home. Ada's marriage to Emeka has completely fallen apart. He left her, and now she and your stepmother are struggling. They're even trying to sell your father's house to survive." "They're trying to sell my father's house? My childhood home? No, that house is mine as his first child. They can't just take that from me." Nneka nods in agreement. "I thought you should know before it's too late." Chioma hired a lawyer and sent a legal notice to Enugu, halting the sale of her father's house. Ngozi and Ada received the lawyer's notice, their faces filled with shock. Ngozi, her stepmother, was shocked and asked, "What does she mean we can't sell the house? It belongs to this family." The lawyer informed them that, as the first child of the late Chief Okafor, Chioma has a legal stake in the property. You cannot sell it without her consent. They are shocked Chioma can afford the services of such a prestigious law firm. Nozi and Ada make several attempts to contact Chioma, but she refuses to see or speak with them, telling the lawyer to negotiate with them. I don't want that house to fall apart under their hands. Offer them a generous settlement for their share and tell them to leave. That house is mine now. Ngozi and Ada reluctantly accept the settlement, knowing they have no other choice. With no skills and without money from the house, they would starve to death. They accept the generous settlement and move out of the house where they tormented Chioma. Chioma hires a team to renovate the home, turning it into a stylish rental property. Chioma finally returns to Enugu to the house. Her return provided the closure she had long sought, and stepping into that house once again became a powerful symbol of reclaiming her past. Ngozi and Ada begin to squander the settlement money. They continue their old ways, making extravagant purchases, new clothes, expensive jewelry, and lavish parties. Mama, we deserve to enjoy this money. After all, Chioma owes us for everything we've been through. Ngozi agrees, saying, Exactly, this is our reward for all the years we took care of her. Ada rekindles her old social life, buying drinks for friends who only take advantage of her generosity. Meanwhile, Ngozi gambles a large portion of the money, convinced she can double their fortune. Fast forward several months. Ngozi and Ada's funds are depleted. They are forced to sell their expensive items and move into a small, run-down apartment. Their attempts to contact Chioma for help go unanswered. They begin arguing frequently, blaming one another for their woes. Years later, Chioma is invited to a prestigious interior design exhibition in Enugu. The hall is filled with influential figures eager to see her work. Attendees at the event look over her intricate designs, showcasing her growth and success. Ngozi and Ada stand at the edge of the crowd, their clothes modest and faces worn. Ada, now desperate for survival, has come to the exhibition hoping to secure even a cleaning job. Chioma walks onto the stage, radiating confidence. She delivers a speech saying, Life will test you, people will betray you, but your worth is not determined by their actions. It is determined by how you rise after the fall. To those who doubted me, thank you. You gave me the fire to succeed. She also announces her program launch at the event, coinciding with the annual interior design exhibition. The hall is buzzing with excitement as young women gather to hear about the opportunities the program will provide. This program is not just about interior decor, it's about resilience, about finding your worth, and about rising above life's challenges. If I can do it, so can you. The audience erupts in applause. Ngozi and Ada watch in stunned silence as Chioma mingles with influential guests. Their expressions are a mix of regret, shame, and longing. After the event, Ada approaches Chioma hesitantly. She looks ashamed and broken. Sister, I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I have nowhere else to turn. Please, I'll do anything. Chioma, after a long pause, said to Ada, I forgave you a long time ago, not for your sake, but for mine. But forgiveness doesn't mean I'll let you take advantage of me again. Chioma extends a complimentary card as well as a signed ticket to the new program to her stepsister saying, This is a second chance, but don't expect any preferential treatment. Everyone in this program must work hard or they're out in a month. That includes you. Thank you, Chioma. I promise I won't waste this chance, her sister promised. Ngozi attempts to approach Chioma but is stopped by security, leaving her standing outside, watching as her former stepdaughter is celebrated by the crowd inside. Chioma walks away, leaving the pain of her past behind. She steps into a waiting car, her poise unshaken and her future bright. True strength lies in reclaiming your power and learning from the past. Squandering opportunities will only lead to more struggles, but those who are willing to work hard and rise above their mistakes can rebuild their lives. Forgiveness isn't weakness, it's strength, but it doesn't come without boundaries.